to today's edition of Search the Scriptures. We are on study number 14 in the fantastic book of Deuteronomy, and today we are going to cover two chapters, chapter 18 and chapter 19, and we're going to answer four different questions. First question is this: what were the special ministries of priests and prophets? And observe in chapter 18 how both alike were God's provision for his people's needs. Of what kind of person in heathen religion did the prophets in Israel take the place? And how can we still distinguish between true and false prophets? 2. In whom was the prophecy of 18, 18, and 19 finally fulfilled? And do we listen to him as we should? Question 3. In what way do the regulations concerning cities of refuge protect against injustice and at the same time enforce just penalty? And 4. How do the regulations of chapter 19 seek to apply the spirit as well as the letter of the 6th, 8th, and 9th commandments, respectively? Well, let's get right to chapter 18 and verse number 1. The priests who are Levites, indeed the whole tribe of Levi, are to have no allotment or inheritance with Israel. They shall live on the offerings made to the Lord by fire, for that is their inheritance. They shall have no inheritance among their brothers. The Lord is their inheritance, as he promised them. This is the share due the priests from the people who sacrifice a bull or a sheep, the shoulder, the jowls, and the inner parts. You are to give them the first fruits of your grain, new wine, and oil, and the first wool from the shearing of your sheep. For the Lord your God has chosen them and their descendants out of all of your tribes to stand and minister in the Lord's name always. And if a Levite moves from one of your towns anywhere in Israel where he is living and comes in all earnestness to the place the Lord will choose, he may minister in the name of the Lord his God like all his fellow Levites who serve there in the presence of the Lord. He is to share equally in their benefits, even though he's received money from the sale of family possessions. When you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you, do not learn to imitate the detestable ways of the nations there. Let no one be found among you who sacrifices his son or daughter in the fire, who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft, or casts spells, or who is a medium or spiritist, or who consults the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord, and because of these detestable practices, the Lord your God will drive out those nations before you. You must be blameless before the Lord your God. The nations you will dispossess listen to those who practice sorcery and divination. But as for you, the Lord your God has not permitted you to do so. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among your own brothers. You must listen to him. For this is what you asked of the Lord your God at Horeb on the day of the assembly, when you said, Let us not hear the voice of the Lord our God, nor see this great fire any more, or we will die. The Lord said to me, What they say is good. I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among them. I will put my words in his mouth, and he will tell them everything I command him. If anyone does not listen to my words that the prophet speaks in my name, I myself will call him to account. But a prophet who presumes to speak in my name anything I have not commanded him to say, or a prophet who speaks in the name of other gods, must be put to death. You may say to yourselves, How can we know when a message has not been spoken by the Lord? If what a prophet claims in the name of the Lord does not take place or come true, that is a message the Lord has not spoken. That prophet has spoken presumptuously. Do not be afraid of him. Chapter 19. When the Lord your God has destroyed the nations whose land he is giving you, and when you have driven them out and settled in their towns and houses, then set aside for yourselves 3 cities centrally located in the land your God is giving you to possess. Build roads to them and divide into 3 parts the land the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance, so that anyone who kills a man may flee there. This is a rule concerning the man who kills another and flees there to save his life, one who kills his neighbor unintentionally without malice aforethought. For instance, a man may go into the forest with his neighbor to cut wood, and as he swings his axe to fell a tree, the head may fly off and hit his neighbor and kill him. That man may flee to one of these cities and save his life. Otherwise, the avenger of blood might pursue him in a rage, overtake him if the distance is too great, and kill him, even though he is not deserving of death, since he did it to his brother without malice aforethought. This is why I command you to set aside for yourselves 3 cities. The Lord your God engages your territory as he promised on oath to your forefathers and gives you the whole land he promised them because you carefully follow all these laws I command you today, to love the Lord your God and to walk always in his ways. Then you are to set aside 3 more cities. Do this so that the innocent blood will not be shed in your land which the Lord your God is giving you as your inheritance, and so that you will not be guilty of bloodshed. But if a man hates his neighbor and lies in wait for him and assaults him and kills him and then flees to one of these cities, the elders of his town shall send for him, bring him back from the city, and hand him over to the avenger of blood to die. Show him no pity. You must purge from Israel the guilt of shedding innocent blood, so that it may go well with you. Do not move your neighbor's boundary stone, set up by your predecessors in the inheritance you receive in the land the Lord your God is giving you to possess. 1 witness is not enough to convict a man accused of any crime or offense that he may have committed. A matter must be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. If a malicious witness takes the stand to accuse a man of a crime, the 2 men involved in the dispute must stand in the presence of the Lord before the priests and the judges who are in the office at the time. The judges must make a thorough investigation, and if the witness proves to be a liar, giving false testimony against his brother, then do to him as he intended to do to his brother. You must purge the evil from among you. The rest of the people will hear of this and be afraid, and never again will such an evil thing be done among you. Show no pity, life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. Question number 1. What were the special ministries of priests and prophets? And observe in chapter 18 how both alike were God's provision for his people's needs. Of what kind of person in heathen religion did the prophets in Israel take place? And how can we still distinguish between true and false prophets? Well, priests and prophets were to declare the will of the Lord to the people in all cases where the law of God did not specifically declare what was to be done. They were also to be in charge of enforcement of the laws of God. The prophets and the priests in the kingdom of God were the counterpart to those that practiced divination and sorcery in the pagan cultures. A prophet was judged as genuine or not based on whether or not his declarations concerning future events took place. I've often wondered if we have been careful to judge the prophets of doom surrounding the year Y2K around the world. The Bible would most certainly hold them accountable for their prophecies of destruction that did not happen, and we should hold them accountable as well. Second question, in whom was the prophecy of chapter 18, 18, and 19 finally fulfilled, and do we listen to him as we should? Well, Joshua was the immediate fulfillment of chapter 18, 18, and 19, but Jesus was the ultimate fulfillment. The Joshua of Exodus and Deuteronomy was the shadow of the greater Joshua that was to come, that being Jesus Christ. And if we will obey his commands and walk in his footsteps, he promises to direct us in the heavenly promised land from which there will be no expulsion. Third question, in what way do the regulations concerning cities of refuge protect against injustice and at the same time enforce just penalty? Well, the cities of refuge protected those that were involved in acts of involuntary manslaughter, but they did not provide refuge for those involved in voluntary manslaughter or in premeditated murder. So there was justice for those that committed those crimes, and there was also lightening of the penalty since there was a city of refuge for involuntary manslaughter people to run to. Question number 4, how do the regulations of chapter 19 seek to apply the Spirit as well as the letter of the 6th, 8th, and 9th commandments, respectively? Chapter 19 calls for a distinction between involuntary manslaughter and murder. It also points out that theft can be as simple as moving a boundary stone a few feet. There's also a reaffirmation as to the importance of giving accurate testimony, and there is a hefty punishment outlined for not giving an accurate testimony. I hope this study on the civil law of the nation of Israel in the book of Deuteronomy has been helpful to you. Hope you're having a fantastic day, and I hope that God blesses richly the rest of your day.